here into the right-hand column and see where it says opacity, 100%. That's 100% of that yellow. I can take it down so that you can see a little bit of the items behind. You know, you can still see and it kind of looks good. So I could decide that, and that's kind of cool. All I have to do is click here, and it gets rid of that. Use my move tool. I can use that to cover up those parts of the image that I don't like, and maybe I put some other type in here. So there are all kinds of layers that I can create. When I decide that there's something I don't like, I can just turn it off, then I don't see it anymore, or I can bring it back. I can change the layer so that it's either appearing behind or below. In this case, for example, I would want the type layer layered on top rather than behind, because that would blur part of the type if I put it underneath. So be very careful of the layering order over here on the right-hand side, so that you have your layers stacked in the order that you want them to be. One other tool I'm going to show you just briefly, because it can be useful sometimes. Let me get rid of that. I don't think that's very cool looking, but let's go down to our bottom layer, which is our photograph of this thistle. And the left-hand side in our list of tools, we have an eraser. And I can take this eraser, I can change the size of it, the flow of it. You know, see this little drop down up here at the top. This is 13 pixels wide, and it's kind of got a blurry edge on it. I could make it very precise. I could change it to this blurry kind of tool. It's a sort of brush I'm using. Remember I told you about those marching ants? I mean, about the checkerboard and why sometimes you want to see the checkerboard? Here I'm erasing part of the image. Whoa! And see, the reason I can tell what parts are being erased is I can see that checkerboard underneath. It's harder to tell sometimes. Sometimes I use a bright color. Sometimes I use the transparent checkerboard underneath, but it can make it easier to see what you're changing and whether you're removing all of these things. And I can sometimes use my zoom tool over here, see the zoom tool over here, to go in closer to see whether maybe there's some random pixels left there that I don't want to leave behind. So, and the checkerboard makes it easier for those to stand out. Now, I don't want to erase part of my photograph, so I need to go up here, and one of the beauties of Photoshop is I can click on Edit, and I can say Undo Eraser. Aha! Notice that now I have no problems. Let me zoom back out so that I'll see. The other thing that's kind of handy sometimes, I've zoomed in too far. How do I get back to where I want to be? I go up here to View, and oftentimes I either go to Actual Pixels, that shows you what that header's really going to look like in the real world, or I pick a specific size, pick one of the other view options, zoom in, zoom out, fit on screen. Sometimes the actual size is too small to see, so I say fit on screen, or it's too large, so I say fit on screen so that it's easy for me to see what I'm working on. Photoshop is a remarkably robust tool to be able to do all kinds of fancy things, as you can see, just by layering the layers and playing with all the different tools. I'm not going to go through all the different tools. We'll be looking at some of them. But I did want to show you one thing, that if you want to save this header, the first thing you want to do is you're going to want to do a save as and save this whole file, right? And I am going to save this as a